Now I've added a few little elements here to my dog class. First of all, you'll notice that I've encapsulated a little data member here called color, a private string color. I've also provided an explicit constructor for the dog class. Note the constructor accepts a single parameter, a string called color. What I'm going to be doing in this constructor is simply assigning the value that's passed into the constructor to the encapsulated data member called color. Then I've created a method called getColor. It's basically an accessor method, which returns to me the current value of the color that's stored in the private string variable. Finally, we still have our speak method, so the speak method returns the string bark bark, exactly the same way as it did before. Now technically in this case, because I did create an explicit constructor in the dog class, that default or zero parameter constructor is not created by the compiler. Therefore, this dog class now has only one constructor, the one that accepts a single string parameter. So if I wanted to derive the poodle class from the class dog, I'm going to have to do a little bit of constructor magic. Since my class poodle extends dog, and dog has a constructor that requires a parameter, I'm going to have to provide that parameter to the base class constructor. Now, without this statement right here, the colon base color, then what's happening implicitly is that the class poodle is going to make a call up to the zero parameter constructor of class dog. However, since no zero parameter constructor exists, that would cause an error. So instead, we use the base keyword to identify the constructor that we want to call. In this case, I'm specifying explicitly that I want to call the base class constructor that accepts a single value, in this case a string. Now in my example, all I'm doing is taking the color value that I'm providing in the constructor of the poodle class and passing that right up to the base class constructor. No other work here really has to be done. Technically though, since the getColor and the speak methods are both public methods of the dog class, they will inherit into the poodle class, and I should be able to access them through an instance of poodle. Well, let's go back to our makePoodle class again, create a new instance, and try this out. When I created my instance of the poodle class, notice that I've passed in the value, black. This is a black poodle. That's the constructor for the poodle class. Remember, what this constructor does, it takes this string value and simply passes that up to the constructor of the base class dog. Then I'm going to use the getColor method and the speak method to output the information about the poodle. This is a black poodle that hopefully says bark bark. Let's take a look and see how this works when we run it. Executing this, we get exactly the results that we would expect. We have a black poodle that says bark bark. So that means that the black string was passed up successfully to the base class dog. What would happen at this point if I went back to the poodle class and I removed this call up to the base class constructor? Let's comment that out and see what happens in this example. Well, this gave us some build errors. I've got some problems at compile time. Let's take a look. According to the description here at the bottom, it tells me that there's no overload for the method dog, which is our constructor, that takes 0 arguments. This is the C# way of telling us that there is not a 0 argument or a 0 parameter constructor for the dog class. Therefore, my object couldn't be instantiated in this example. So what we've seen here is that if we use our own custom constructors, we may have some additional work that we need to do in order to make sure that we don't have any problems with the constructor chaining. But most importantly, I think what we see here is the relationship between the various classes that are part of this inheritance chain. And we can understand by looking at this that when you create an instance of a class, that's not isolated. You're actually creating an entire set of instances.